That's what transpired on the floor of the Senate yesterday with the ministerial nominees. Chukwuma Ezeala joins us now to give his impression of what you've just seen. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, that's all the build-up in terms of what we were told about how the Senate were going to conduct themselves with respect to those who will be screened. Finally, they were screened. What expectations did you have? Were they met?
I think most Nigerians have their expectations dashed. And I say that with every sense of responsibility. Because first is on the appointments. All we had initially was that people, not just of proving character, but people with requisite knowledge and expertise. We were expecting 60% to 70% of such people to be appointed into the cabinet. But be that as it may, we believe that the president wants to deliver on the promises made. So he has the sole information of who he is putting up. We also expect the Senate to look at everything in detail. Nigerians voted against corruption, not necessarily against PMB. PMB was only a phase showing non-tolerance to corruption. And most of the people appointed today as ministers were part of the corruption-ridden governments we've been having from 1983 till date.
Isn't that a painting everybody in one brush?
No, not just painting everybody in one brush. I said they were parts of those governments.
Okay, I thought you said...
No, I'm not saying they were part of it, but I said they were part of the government that existed in Nigeria from 1979 till date. And we are saying that corruption had been an endemic problem for the past 30, 35 years. So where do you go from there? Look at what the NNPC man did. What he did is that he entered into the system, found out that he said, look, that NNPC as a whole, you wouldn't say they are corrupt. That there are about 20% that are painting the whole system black. And what did he do? He decided to remove almost all of them and brought people from outside the system to supplant these people so as to give it a new lease of life.
Should that
Chamberlain, is that what you expect of the president?
Yes, I expect the president to 70%, at least 70%, bring people from the private sector that are known to have done their work well in terms of planning.
Is the public sector that bad to the extent that we always clamor for people to come from the private sector?
Yes, from what we know of the public sector, starting from the civil servants to career politicians, it is business as usual. Either incompetence or corruption. Look at the contracts they award. Look at the planning system, like the ministers, going back to the question, what do we expect from our ministers? We expect first, when they come in, can they have the time to look at what is the initial plan, what is the medium plan, what will be the long-term plan of the ministry? Somebody that will be in the Ministry of Education, would you be able to look at what education is today in Nigeria? Would you be able to look at the budgets being spent on education and where these budgets go to? Somebody that will be in the Ministry of Health, would you want to look at the type of hospitals we have? How much do we budget? How much is released? We should be told. We should be told that, for instance, that our healthcare institutions, not only that they are poorly funded, but even the little funding being expended in them.
Sorry to cut you there. I listened to Politics Today on Sunday, and it was quite an interesting one and quite revealing, getting to hear that, from Mr. Seriki saying that some of these people that Nigerians are saying that they want technocrats, that they are also politicians. And you can't say you're not a card-carrying member of some of these political parties, even when you say you're in the private sector without being a politician. So it then means that if you look at it, you have a mix, a potpourri of intellectuals, whether in politics, in businesses, in whatever they do, and that is why we're getting to see those people making the list.
Yes, but some of them have worked before. Did we go to look at what they did? You know, sometimes when we do a little thing, it seems that we have done so much. I'm not saying that all of them are bad. I'm not saying that all of them have, some of them have not tried, especially in terms of what they did. Some of them have courage. I don't want to mention names, but at least one of them who was a former governor. You go to his states where he was a governor, you look at the quality of roads he built. Some of them for the past 10 years, he's still there, showing that he can pay attention to details. You know, some of them have participated in others. One of them was a commissioner. And when you look at what she did, or what he did, you know, where he or she is coming from, you will see that there was relative careful planning. So it's not a blanket thing that all of them are bad, no.
Yesterday, many also flipped and saw Senate grilling Hillary Clinton in a different area. But back here, the screening was also going on. But what would you say of the quality of questioning that came through for would-be ministers in this country? Where would you assess, or where would you say we are now in the scheme of things?
That's also where some of us would get, some of them did well in terms of questions. You know, some of the senators were doing very well. But some of the systems, there are some that are really brilliant. But you see the type of question without realizing that the entire world is watching. If a question is coming from senators, because even if it's one person that is asking that question, it is from senators. Oh, my dear intelligent wife, you are very brilliant, you're this, you're that. Is that a question? That is not what is expected from a system that is being televised live. The question should be, first, if you are going to be confirmed as a minister, whatever ministry you are given, because we have already lamented the fact that ministry portfolios are not being attached as to know what you'll be able to do. But be that as it may, because of some other considerations, it was not attached. Now, as a minister, what are you going to do? People should be able, it's like an essay, even if it's an interview. It's supposed to be a job interview. And in a job interview, what do you expect? You expect, this is a chief executive you are interviewing. This is somebody who is going to work with the PAMSECs, with directors. This is somebody who is going to meet a dilapidated civil service.
Are you saying, we go again about the civil service. We'll come back to the civil service debate, because for some, they think that we have over-exaggerated the rot in the civil service to the extent that it would seem as if we don't have good and fantastic professional civil servants. But coming back to the line of questioning, are you saying that they went out of, you know, the line that you would have thought that they would have, knowing full well that if you come before any interview, they look at your resume and they look at what you have done before and also what you can do? Didn't that come from the senators?
Like I said, in some of them, it came. Some of the questions, yes, they did well, like I said. But in some, it didn't. But more importantly for me, you know, when I mentioned the civil service, I didn't mean to bring down the entire civil service. We have a lot of professionals. Sometimes they are not being given the opportunity to do their work. We know that. So these are also areas of engagement. If the minister is the chief executive, he is not the chief accounting officer of the ministry, we know. If he is the chief executive, I've not heard, because I took up my time to listen to most of the questions. I've never seen one of them asked, now as the chief executive, not a chief accounting officer of the ministry, how are you going to manage the civil service in your ministry? Because this is a general question. Remember, you're not being asked for petroleum or education or anything. But how are you going to harness the resources in the civil service? How are you going to make sure that they are all sitting up? Some of the ministries, you see some people that come to work by 9 or by 10. Secondly, you see a civil service where a lot of people go on overseas trip for the purposes of training. And when they come back, you see that the training doesn't seem to be working. Some of us that interface with the ministries, you go to stamp duties, you stamp your documents, it will never come out in the next 1 week. This is a revenue generating system. You're going to pay your tax, you have some issues, this is a generating system. You go to the NNPC, you know, some of these
So these
areas,
should have been questions for them so that they tell the nation how they can rejig the system in such ministry.
Sure, sure. And they promote efficiency in those areas. What are you going to do? When you go in, what are you going to do to find out whether the ministries are working? Who are working? Are you going to continue with business as usual, appointing your cronies to head, you know, certain departments? Or are you going to find out those that are actually professionals? Those, just like Ibek and Chuku told us, that when he entered NNPC, he found out that there are some people that are yearning for leadership. He found out that there are some people that really want to work. I am not saying he has succeeded. We are going to see whether he has succeeded or not in the next 1 year. We give it to him. But at least he has said something showing that he has a medium-term plan.